Corona Cup match. This is Mark Sebo from Austin, and I'm here with Kevin, also from Austin.
Yellow.
And today we have Charles Walker versus Steve, and I, I don't want to pronounce his last name wrong, so it's going to be Steve M. And we've got Charles with a Scum and Villainy list. You may have seen around the Corona Cup a little bit. It's Drea with Crackshot and Dorsal. Then a bunch of Z's with Crackshot and one Mining Guild tie, just to be a little bit of annoyance. And then we've got Steve on the other side. He's running a CIS Separatist Alliance list. Again, a little bit, somewhat standard, but we haven't seen a lot of Seer in this tournament. So it's going to be Captain Seer with TA 175, and then just a number of Trade Federation drones, just a couple with Discords.
Yeah, it's a really cool swarm versus swarm list here. And very importantly, it seems like Steve got the initiative, which does absolutely matter for that TIE fighter versus the CIS swarm. But a little unfortunate for Charles, but at the same time, that TIE fighter can still do something nasty to Seer, maybe. Either way, this is gonna be a little bit wild, and probably a lot bloody. Everybody's got crack shot here.
Yeah, and that's the important to note, which may not have been obvious from the introduction, is that Captain Seer as a ship allows all of those droids after they attack to spend a calculate to perform essentially a crack shot. And of course, they can do that every single round as long as they have crack shots. And TA 175 hopefully will keep them topped off, or as long as they have calculates, rather.
Hmm. Though honestly, it's the when I look at TA 175 personally, I always think the real danger isn't so much like spending that on seer crack shots, but the fact that they just have all of the dice mod forever. And
Except for blanks.
especially except for blanks, true, but they're only throwing two dice either way. Um, Especially though with the new ruling, I say new, a few months old ruling at this point, but it's the first time I've seen TA 175 since that, where previously ships were counted as destroyed at the end of the initiative step, but now they're counted as destroyed immediately. So as
Right.
soon as one of those droids pops, they get calculates for the rest of that initiative step.
And I mean, the fact of the matter is that does kind of temper Charles's usual advantage here. I mean, Charles, most of his ships are PS3 and 4, which means he is going to have the opportunity to take, hopefully for him, one or two of these droids off of the board before they even get the chance to shoot. But at the same time, that means that by the time Charles is done shooting, he may have loaded up all of the remaining droids with an enormous number of calculates for defense or offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with if Charles can get his crack shots in position, and I think the ideal scenario for him would be he takes out two droids in the first engagement he gets, where he destroys one. He doesn't. At that point, you have the droids that are just too full on calculates. They've partied too much. There's too many pinatas, and the remainder can't do as much as they want to. This is ideal case scenario. Obviously, it's not necessarily something you're going to expect to see all the time
Right.
or
Yeah.
even a little of the time.
Although it's interesting here, Steve is setting up Captain Seer not in the corner, but more towards the inside.
I was noticing that too, and if you didn't bring that up, I was about to say that with my next breath.
That's a little strange.
I would go so far as to say I think that's a mistake that he might pay for later. Um, I do believe like the main issue Charles might have had with using that mining tie to block is the fact that Seer usually is at the far back of his formation and is
Right.
pretty hard to reach for even shooting or blocking or anything. But with that tie with being on the inside there, that's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, for any viewers wondering what we're talking about, Seer, the single non-droid ship in Steve's list, which is if you're watching the stream kind of at the top left of his formation there, is an enormous source of support for Steve's other ships. Not only does it ensure that they all get calculate mods if they start dying, but he also enables them to use that crack shot ability we were talking about earlier. If Steve loses Seer early on, that is a significant problem for him. So usually what you see people doing is trying to keep Seer kind of as you would if you treat your king if you were playing chess, somewhere in the middle or somewhere to ensure that the opponent has to go through quite a large amount of trouble to get to him. But here on the outside, maybe he's out predicting Charles, who's, as we're watching, Charles is setting up for the joust. So he's just going to come right at Steve here.
I don't disagree with that. If Charles can effectively range control and make sure that their first engagement is at range 2, I think that's advantageous for. I don't know who wins this joust.
That's the problem. I disagree with it because I think the general rule is if you have fewer ships than the opponent, you want to take that diagonal. Because all Charles is creating here is a situation where they will probably both be able to bring all of their guns to bear on the first round of engagement.
Yeah,
that's true. Charles really wanted is maybe half of each bring guns to bear so that the Z's can PS kill a droid or two.
Yeah, generally speaking, I've never played a jousting list versus a droid swarm, but I know the general rule of thumb that playing against them is you want to try and turn that line formation into a column to try and stagger their engagement as much as possible. And it's the job of the Separatist player to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right, but that's the other thing to note is that, Steve deployed in a very straightforward move forward formation of 4 across. If you make him hard turn, all of a sudden he's only got 2 ships coming at you in 4 deep rows. So it's going to be harder for him to get all his guns on you.
Sorry, I didn't.
No. You brought up the exact next thing I was going to say, which is then you also get to take advantage of where he deployed Seer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if Steve would have had to turn that formation to the ship left, then Seer would be in the front lines, which is the last place he wants to be.
But yeah, a little bit here, Steve is getting what he wants. And the other thing we haven't talked about is that 3 of these droids have Discord missiles. Can we talk about how much none of the ships in Charles's list are going to appreciate getting hit with Discord missiles?
I mean, all of the ships in Charles's list have barrel roll on their action
bar. And they're all red.
Oh, okay, except for the TIE Fighter. But really, if you throw a Discord on the TIE Fighter...
that's still worth it. It has no shields. You get an automatic crit, right?
True. The main thing I'm thinking about is the fact that, especially how they're set up here, those Discords aren't really going to be able to. I guess they could land in the front guys just fine.
Yeah. I think it's worth it.
Now, one note of concern I've got here is that Charles seems to have put his turret for Drea to the left. Now, Drea's ability stipulates that the rerolls are only granted if the defender is in Drea's arc. And putting that turret to the left really kind of opens him up to the possibility that, like, say, Seer comes in for a flank, maybe. And all of a sudden, those Z's can't get rerolls on him.
It's possible, but I think it's extremely unlikely. Because Seer has to stay within range 0 to 3 of all of these droids for TA-175 to work. So the possibility of Seer doing what Bulb would normally do, okay, we have some opening movements here. Anyway, Seer's going to stay with the formation. He's got to stay at range 0 to 3.
Sure, and that's absolutely true. I'm just thinking to myself, like, what there's no reason to have the turret pointed left when you're deployed on the left side of the board anyway.
No.
It's just a possible loss of an action later down the line if you need that reroll.
No, I think you're going to see it because Drea's on the right side of that formation. That enables Drea to do a 2 hard turn or a 1 bank into those gas clouds and still keep Drea's arc pointed to the left at the droids. I think that's what
That's
you're going to
true.
see.
That actually raises an interesting question. Do you think Charles is going to turn to the right, setting up as though he's going to joust but bail out of it?
I don't think he should. If he does, I think that's a mistake. He committed here. The Z's are not ships you can play around with. We do see Steve kind of, showing a little bit of his swarm prowess, coming in here with some interesting maneuvers, creating a different kind of formation.
This is some interesting openings from Steve for sure. Heck, I admire how he's managed to reorient his formation really
Oh,
well,
yeah.
but if they are jousting, I question why.
Well, he could be doing this a little bit to create more of that barrier between Charles and Seer that we were talking about. That is now going to be enormously difficult for Charles to kind of get through to effective shots on Seer. That's a number of droids he has to go through.
True, very
It
true.
also is enabling him to set up to avoid those gas clouds. But I agree with you. I liked his formation where it was. I don't know really why he's going through the effort of doing this.
Yeah, especially since that last droid that just moved is in a little bit of an awkward position.
Correct.
Uh, the way he was set up before with the 4x2, I was thinking that that outside droid was just going to casually fly through the gas cloud and not really give much of a care. Especially since it's not carrying Discord missiles, a lot of times the Seer Swarm with TA 175 will have the one sacrificial droid they'll send out to die to provide calculates to everyone else. And I was kind of expecting Steve to kind of move forward the formation in a block and have Seer maybe barrel roll to the right and get in behind.
Well, we'll see what Charles opens up with. I mean, we're expecting the tie to go pretty fast here. Yeah. He
Yeah,
does hit
four
that.
straight, the fastest it can do.
He
Without
does hit that
stressing.
asteroid, but it doesn't care because it's a mining guild tie.
Mhm.
I guess the question is focus or barrel roll here. I imagine he's just gonna.
Well,
Okay.
if he barrel rolls, he might potentially get to shoot at the droid, or if he doesn't barrel roll, he gets shot. And he barrel rolls off, which is again, completely fair. Like that
Right.
looked like that was a range 3 shot through the gas cloud, maybe, but you don't want to give someone a shot without any return fire.
Agreed. Although we'll see, where these Z's end up. So Seer
Mhm.
comes forward a little bit. Again, Seer only PS2, still moves before all of these Z's and Drea. And he is kind of what we're expecting, just sitting in the middle there. Doesn't have a lot of great moves for next turn.
No, and does the correct me if I'm wrong? I believe the Belba Lab has 1 bank.
It does. It definitely does.
So maybe a 1 bank and then a boost to maintain formation next turn.
Maybe.
But especially, I really am not a fan of where that the white Trade Federation drone has wound up.
I feel like
What I
it's.
would
Oh, interesting. So
hmm?
he's just putting Seer completely between the Z. He's putting those gas clouds between Seer and the Z's.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see that working out, and it does put Seer in an interesting flank spot. And this is, I was going to say, I would love to have seen Charles just do 1 straights here because that looks like it's just out of range, which is perfect for Charles because you do not want to exchange fire at range 3 of these droids.
Really?
Um,
I definitely would. This is the one chance you have to maybe take a droid off the board before the entire list starts shooting you.
I suppose that's true. I'm too used to thinking of droid swarms with energy shell charges, and these
Right.
ones don't have.
Exactly. So I mean, range 3. That would be fine. I think Charles would like to see some range 3 shots here.
You're right. You're right. Um, I do think. I don't know. I think trying to think more and more about who has the advantage in a straight up joust, and I do think Drea's rerolls are definitely going to be important.
Well,
Um,
Charles should have it now. I mean, Steve is playing super fancy with these droids, and he's getting a nice formation set up, and he's getting what he wants because Seer is behind those gas clouds. But on the other hand, he's just created a situation next turn where it's going to be almost the entirety of Charles's strongest segment against a cut down version of Steve's list.
yeah, and that Tie Fighter's in a really good flanking position slash set up for a block on Seer, which wasn't really possible. Or wouldn't really have been possible if Seer was closer to the outside of the board.
Right. And so, yeah, Charles absolutely should have the advantage here in this joust. Um, I also don't think Steve is close enough to be able to bump these Z's, which is really what he wants.
No, he's not. He is absolutely not. Um, and this is the kind of situation where I would have just slapped down a range check. Even though there's like where they did the right click and say no valid targets, but personally, I would have taken advantage of the fact that you can just put down a range ruler between and start gauging how far you have to go here. It's totally legal to put down that range ruler always.
Yeah, I could have seen one of the players doing that. Although I think for both of them, well, for Charles at least, I think the obvious next move is a one straight.
Seem to have some technical issues. The two dials stuck together.
Oh no.
Charles trying to separate the dial.
He's making it move a little bit at a time here.
He accidentally created a stack. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So the front two droids
He's still
are
having
stressed.
some issues with that dial, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna
do you
pause the timer.
Yeah, do you want to jump in and recommend that they pause the timer while he settles this?
Well, I think Charles. No, they've got it sorted out. It looks like Charles is selecting maneuvers now. Plus, I figure if Charles at least is able to communicate whether or not he needs a timer pause. So the fastest the droids can do to clear stress is, I believe, a 4 straight. Is that blue on the vultures?
Maybe. Let me pull it up.
Taking a look myself.
Just realizing that the streamer timer has not been going, so I'm setting that up.
Yeah, the 4 straight is blue, 3 straight is blue, and the 2 straight and 2 turns are blue. So Steve kind of has what his options open as far as what he can do. The only really thing he can't do that he might even want to would be a 3 bank, but I don't see that coming into play for those two front droids at all.
Yeah. So Mining Guild tie, what do you think? I mean, we think Charles is just going to one straight with everybody. The engagement probably happening around that gas cloud between the two lists.
I'm thinking the Mining Guild tie is in an interesting spot. While you could easily just 3 bank the Mining Guild tie in for some nice flank shots, what I would love to see is something like a 2 bank and a barrel roll to get possibly a flank shot on Seer, who tries to bank in.
I don't know if I can support any move on that tie that doesn't come with a focus.
Fair, but if that barrel roll puts him outside of all firing arcs, I don't know if I don't know if that's the case. That really depends on how fast Seer goes. Seer could easily slow roll this and be just fine.
Yeah.
Possibly just the Mining Guild tie going straight forward.
I kind of liked your 5 straight idea with the Mining Guild tie.
5 straight is red, though, is the problem.
Yeah. So 3 bank and barrel roll. Yeah. I could see
3
that
bank
too.
and barrel roll. Yeah, that could put him on the outside there,
Just
and
to
puts him in
kind of come in next turn.
Yeah, it puts him in a decent spot to like one hard turn the following round.
Alternately, he could just three bank and focus, and then just the problem is he's not in a really great spot to do anything without just dying horribly.
Yeah, I'd be worried about the three bank and focus I'd be worried about that putting him at just taking a range one shot from the White Trade Federation drone up there
Right.
right in front of, and then a range one or two shot from Seer afterwards. Well, flip that order, but still, you get the idea.
Yeah, I think though you had a point about initiative. It's very unfortunate that Charles did not get initiative for him because the entire point of that mining guild tie is to block things, and when it can't do that, it kind of loses the point of it in the list.
It still could serve a purpose as like just something that needs to soak fire. Like at some point, you turn your guns on it because it's annoying. You don't want to shoot at it, but it's in your way.
Right, but if you were going to do that, I think you would have kept it with the rest of the list.
Possibly true. Yeah.
You know, all
Maybe put
all
it.
all that his position is meaning is that he's going to eat shots that wouldn't have gone anywhere. Okay, so yeah, we're seeing the droid shoot forward. You know,
Now that's a 5 straight, which did not clear stress.
I am not sure where he was coming from there. That may have been an error. Um, it looks like
One of the dials wasn't set, but that's okay.
that's all right. He's moving first. It's fine. So 5 straight and then a 4 straight follow up.
He probably sent that one. You know what? I was talking earlier about the sacrificial droids to start the pinata first. That one reads to me as he's trying to block, and if you did anything other than a one straight, you're getting blocked by that droid.
But if Charles does anything other than a 1 straight, I'm gonna have some harsh words for him right after this game.
I agree because the one straight gives him the best odds to be out of range of the backmost droid.
I mean, we joke in X-wing about here. Let me move the stream view a little bit. All right, that's better. We joke in X-wing about this, 1 straight to victory kind of thing, but I mean, there's truth to it, and sometimes just 1 straight is the best move in the game.
Absolutely. There's a lot more times that I wish ships had a one straight than I wish they didn't. Like whenever I fly the Scum Kyrax, I always think, man, if this ship had a one straight.
Oh, it would be so much better, right? Yeah, exactly.
So the outside droid in front of Seer did go. Oh no. Oh,
Yes.
that's a very unfortunate move there.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
he's getting his fancy formation is kind of messing him up a little bit here. I think he might be having trouble predicting which moves are going to land him bumps or not. He did hit
he
the
got
gas
very
cloud,
lucky
right?
with no strain after that as well. That's quite lucky for him.
That is extremely lucky. That would have been
Because
a
if
very
that was
dead
a
droid.
strange droid on a gas cloud with no action, that would just a easy target, and then we might have that situation I talked about where Charles picks off two droids instead of just one.
Let me talk for just a moment though. Steve's finishing moving the rest of his ships. I think this is going to go very well for Charles if he did a 1 straight with everybody.
I agree. Sorry, I don't mean to be talking
No,
over you.
no, you're good. I wanted to talk for just a moment too about though the one other advantage that this line formation thing that Steve has set up is that it's very odd to see 2 crack shot swarms going in at each other. Steve has set up so that every single one of his droids on approach can crack shot on attack, but only 2 columns of Charles's ships can do that.
That is an excellent point. I had not considered that, and that might be why Steve reoriented his formation early.
It's possible. I don't know that it was worth it per se, but it could have been something going through his mind, and it's not a bad thing. So Seer moves forward. Unfortunately, that mining guild tie bumped, and that's kind of what we were talking about. Unfortunately, that mining guild tie doesn't really have a good place here. It's getting bumped instead of bumping.
Yeah. It did. He did. Charles did try the two bank.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's possible the three bank might have cleared that,
I
and
think the move is what we were talking about with a 4 or 5 straight. Damn the stress,
yeah,
and
and
that
that
would
would
have
have
bumped
probably
Sear.
caught us. Hmm.
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 Yeah, and then he would have been in a perfect flanking position for next turn. And unfortunately, that's why did he do that?
It
He's
puts Seer in a good flank spot, while I think it does keep every droid at range 3. Just at a glance, I do believe everyone's at
I
range
don't
3.
I don't think so. I think that front droid is out of range.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. If he set that front droid up to be sacrificial, and here's the one straights from Charles Good, I think he just made a very unfortunate move. That ship's going to get deleted, and TA 175 isn't going to do anything.
If that front droid Federation number 4 with the stress is out of range of Seer, then that means the pink in the back is also out of range to shoot, which would be very much in Charles's favor at this point. Great.
Yeah,
Good luck for him,
I
but
also want to note that the Bell Blobs also they're blues. They don't have a hard turn blue. It's only a 2
no, they do
bank,
not.
which means that Seer could be in a good flanking position for next turn, but I don't know that it's worth losing the support for the rest of his ships here. I don't even know
That
that.
barrel roll.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that barrel roll might have also been a well, I am at range 1 in arc of that of the TIE fighter. Let me just make sure I don't get shot at all.
Man, I don't think it's worth it.
And yeah, number pink is in fact out of range of oh, that's Drea.
That's
Okay, never
Drea,
mind.
yeah. We will find out who's at range 0 to 3 of Seer probably pretty soon here. Okay, so they're shooting discords.
Ah, yeah, of course, of course.
So the first discord's going out 3 straight. It's hitting both Drea and the Z. So he's going to get to choose whether it hits Drea to the rear or the Z to the front.
That's an interesting choice. I would be tempted to say just take the automatic damage on Rhea. I'm sorry, on Drea now. But I don't know.
I think you put it forward, and then Charles has to reckon with it for future turns.
Well, does he? Because if it can't be placed, then
No, you just place it ahead of the Z. The Z
right.
takes.
But then next turn, the Z does a 1 straight, and the Discord suddenly can't be placed.
Yeah, but then you do another point of damage when it dies.
I suppose so.
So you're if you put it ahead of the Z, you're choosing multiple points of damage or a wasted shot from Charles.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely the right call. They're having
Oh,
to mess with the ships a little bit to get these discords to work right. He is going to choose. Still thinking, but it looks like he's going to choose ahead of the Z, which is I
that
think the
makes
right
perfect
call.
sense. I liked the in theory, like, oh, let's just get the automatic damage on Drea now. But you're right, like that. While that's neat, the make it more of a problem later on is certainly the right call.
Also, I think you might lure Charles into making an incorrect decision uh, to shoot that and try to get it off the board before it does any damage. So
Possibly.
you're making it more interesting for your opponent, which I think is also generally a good call.
That's possible. That's absolutely possible. I certainly hope that Charles doesn't shoot at it. Uh, that's just a Z95 in front, and then another Discord coming in here.
Probably just 3 straight hit that front Z.
I don't know if the 3 straight does hit that front Z, but I mean it'll hit next turn.
Right. It's worth firing it.
Sure. If they don't hurt
He
you,
might be
so
he might be thinking though, maybe I do a 3 bank and hit that right hand side Z for sure.
the one on the green,
Yeah,
number
green.
green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the 3 bank to the right and hit green as well.
Who's the last guy that has Discord? It's the
Looks like that's a 3. 3 straight, but it's in yellow's way.
Okay.
The last one to have Discord is no, that one was just fired. I'm gonna have to look at the numbers.
Green colored one. It might be the one that bumped.
It is the one that bumped. The one that bumped has the last
So
Discord.
that is unfortunate for Steve. He really wanted to shoot that last Discord, and he's not going to get the option.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though,
Maybe
for Charles, it's worth noting that Charles did give Steve exactly what he wants, really, which is this perfect place to just toss all these Discords ahead of Charles and tell him to deal with it.
Oh, and it sounds like Charles is shooting.
Charles
the
is going to shoot the
missile.
Discord missile.
He does have crack shot. I get. Oh, that's why you lock your ships, everybody.
Yeah, they had to move these ships. Thankfully, there's a perfect little box right on the board with exactly where Drea was. So he's choosing to shoot this Discord missile. He'll probably spend his focus because remember, the Discords still get to roll 3 agility dice. They don't get to mod them, but they still have them. What would be funny is if Drea crack shots the Discord missile.
Yeah, that actually is something he can do.
So he's spending his focus for a hit crit coming in on that Discord missile, and the Discords will have 3 agility dice in return. Looks like Steve is checking on that. They might be talking about what exactly happens if Charles needs to crack it.
That or they're talking about how to get rid of the rangefinder on the board.
I think that'll come second. I see some pointers going over to the Discord card. All right, so we've got the roll coming in here for Steve. Only 1 evade. That's not enough. That Discord is going to go away without doing any damage.
I mean, it worked out that it salvaged it, saved the damage from the Z, but like I still can't say I agree with the decision to shoot the Discord.
I don't either. I think if you were going to make that decision, you would have waited until that brown Z right behind the Discord, right behind red in the center. You wait till that shot. Because that can be your last shot, and by then you can know better if you really would rather save another shot. But we have yellow shooting. He's taking a range 1 at that stress droid in front. Spends his focus for 2 hits and a crit.
I'm surprised he spent his focus rather than do the Drea reroll.
Nah, you want it because here we go. Hit focus blank, or evade blank rather, but this Z can crack that. He's doing it. That droid is dead in 1 shot.
Yeah, and that's all well and good. Don't get me wrong. But now he does get all the calculates.
I don't think so. I think that droid is outside of range 0 to 3 of Seer.
Well, hopefully they check rather than just assume.
Well, they're dealing out some damage cards here first. I don't think it can possibly matter.
Oh dear, did they... Charles seems to be proceeding with just more shots.
Well, no, that's still the same dice.
Okay.
I mean, he is checking range, that's true, but they need to be talking... Oh, okay, I think they just agreed that is not in range of TA-175.
That, or it would be very unfortunate if Steve just didn't realize the rules change I mentioned.
Wait, he's rolling too many dice.
No, he rolled two attack dice.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, and then he moved it back over. Okay. So it looks like the red Z is shooting at that front droid. 2 hits. The droid rolls evade blank. That is absolutely going to be cracked. And that droid is going to go down to 1 health. Now that droid might be within range 0 to 3 of Seer.
It's not dead yet, though, unfortunately.
It's not, but it very well might be soon.
Yeah. And that droid is one that really could have used a calculate from Seer or from TA-175.
So we have our first blank from Charles. He is going to be able to re-roll that blank. Wait. Hold on. can you ask them if they checked range with Seer, please?
Sure.
And just a reminder why this is important. The Seer only enables this fiesta of free calculates if a ship at range 0 to 3 of him dies. If that ship is out of range 3, he doesn't get it.
They're realizing the issue here right now.
They can just do the 3 on the dials. And it is outside.
That's out.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That
You
barrel
were
roll was
absolutely
very
correct.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
So he will not get all of those free calculates that he was just putting out on the board until another droid dies.
Yeah, and that was you. I was sure that was within range 3, but maybe just barely out. But yeah, you were absolutely right. Good eye. And yeah, he's unfortunately packing up all those calculates to go home.
I mean, they might still come out, but he is not going to have them until another droid dies. We did get to see, though, that every other droid is at range 3 of Seer.
Yeah.
Just not that one.
And to answer the question in chat, yes, TA-175 did get changed to take effect immediately. The issue was that Trade Federation Drone 4 that died is not at range 0 to 3 of Seer, and therefore the relay does not trigger.
Yes, unfortunately, it was two unfortunate things happened at the same time. One, that droid did a 5 straight instead of a 4 straight, which made it just outside of range, but also Seer decided to barrel roll for position next turn. Unfortunately for Steve, though, we did get to see every other droid is at range for TA-175 to activate. Just not that first one that he sacrificed, probably for that exact purpose. And that is unfortunate.
Yeah, heck, the while ideally you want to kill 2 of these droids on the opening engagement, you're feeding a lot of calculates and you're hoping that maybe there's too many for him to spend. And this time he's getting 2 droids possibly killed for the sake of 1 calculate each.
So Charles shooting again, hit crit. There's a blank focus rolled, but that is not going to be enough. And that droid is going to die with a hit crit. I assume Charles shooting the same target. He is. You could
he can't even crack shot it, so
you could flex a little bit here and start just piling damage on multiple droids instead of killing one, and that way you can just kill them all in one go.
I feel like that's getting a little risky. Charles is pulling ahead with a nice early lead, and he really
And here we get the range ruler again.
just
making 100% sure this time.
Yeah, right.
He does not want to put all those calculates back out if he doesn't have to. But yeah, go continue what you were saying there.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's a really neat flex to do. I think that if Charles weren't already at the point where he's killed 1 ship with no penalty and there's a second ship with just the 1 calculate, I think he's already looking at a great spot right now.
Agreed. So let me go ahead and update this here. So that is 1 Discord and 1 not, both dead.
2 Discords were shot right now, actually. Oh, 1 Discord and 1 not dead. Yes. And 2 crack shots spent on Charles's side. And this looks like green probably shooting at red, the second Discord droid. Oh
Yeah.
no, he's shooting at
my gosh.
3.
Charles's attack dice are really helping him out
And
here for sure.
well, I mean, with Drea and focus and only 2 dice, I mean, it's going to be hard not to roll very well. So he's doing what he
Yeah,
should be doing, focusing in on that last droid that hasn't shot his Discord yet. He does put a damage through.
And that's the droid that did bump this turn. Oh my god.
Charles rolling just fire here. Hit crit.
He hasn't had to spend his focus on any but one of those Z95s so far.
Yeah. Steve is probably. So wait, is this range 3 at that bumped droid?
Yes, that's Black
Oh
Sun.
no!
Oh,
Steve's dice just
Lord.
not coming through. 2 blanks and an evade. That crit is going to go through. If that
That's
is a direct.
We're both waiting for it. We're eager to see it. Oh, flip that card over.
Yeah, it's the other one, guys.
They realize they're
Structural.
Weapons
Oh, is
failure.
weapons failure? Ooh. That's almost as good.
weapons failure is particularly bad right now. Structural damage would also suck. Don't get me wrong, but that's basically taking another gun out of the fight.
That's a pretty solid beginning there for Charles, taking 2 ships off the board, leaving a third at 1 health with a weapons failure.
And he's proving us wrong by saying he was incorrect to shoot the Discord.
I don't know. No, I disagree with that. I think this is the point I was making, because if you had that shot left, you could have taken that 3rd droid off the board right now.
Absolutely true. And frankly, while I joke about that, like I think it's more accurate to say Charles was not punished for that.
Yeah, he definitely accomplished what he needed. But can we talk about how swiftly this game would be over if that droid was no longer on the board?
Oh, for sure. There's Seer coming in at the bumped TIE Fighter,
Yeah,
who's taking 1 damage.
that's, you know what? If I'm Charles, I'm cool with that.
Both players rolled basically average there. Seer rolling, hit eyeball blank and then spending his focus. Charles rolling 1 evade on 3 dice. That's normal. Nothing to complain about here.
Now we have Steve trying to make something happen here. This is
Yeah.
not an energy shell swarm. He really wants to be at range 1 to deal some damage, and he is not.
No, and especially that one ship that's got the range 2 shot in Bullseye is weapons failure. So
Right. That white droid on the far side is just not in a position to do anything.
he's probably still got
A range
the
3
outer-
shot.
that looks, yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
on the edge of range 3 on if it's on the Z95 at all.
And if it's not, it's a
Definitely
range
range
3
3
obstructed into Drea.
Yeah, that's probably that's obstructed.
So it looks like he's taking a shot here. I think he's shooting Drea. Hit blank. And this is where I'm talking about droid
He did roll
swarms.
too many dice.
No, that hit was already there.
Oh, fair enough. Oh no, he's realizing he rolled too many dice, and there's the blank. Answer the question in chat how you scale the dials up. You just right click on them and then hit scale and then up. It's just in the properties, and you can hold down that up arrow to make them. I like that for ace lists. I don't really so much care for it for swarms, but is what it is.
It's nice for the stream.
It is nice for the stream, for sure.
So a shot coming in here, hit eyeball. He'll probably be spending a calculate to make that 2 hits. Charles rolls
He did
blank
indeed.
evade. Takes 1 point of damage on one of those Z's. Now here's where... Yeah, you go ahead. I think we were both about to say the same thing.
We were both about to say he should not have spent his own calculate because he could have crack-shotted there. I think what we were about to say.
That is exactly right. Seer, you have to spend your own calculate to crack and evade. Whereas with networked calculations, he could have spent a calculate from that guy to the back left of him who has 2. and he could have
Or
taken
heck,
all
just
he could have taken all the shields off of that Z, but instead he only gets 1 damage.
or spend the calculate off the ship that's already fired.
Yeah, it's possible. I think though that what we're seeing here a little bit is Steve has been flying a very similar list to this in Corona. All right, he rolls again, hit blank. He's just not getting anything with these blanks here. He wishes he had Drea. And that Z rolls a Vade focus. I probably will spend that focus to avoid the Seer crack.
If he
Maybe?
assuming he didn't shoot at Drea. Oh wait, no, he
No.
rolled 3 evade dice.
Right,
So
he-
then he has to. He should just. Well,
He could just eat it, I guess. I would spend it.
there is still one more shot coming in that Z95,
Right.
possibly 2. So I can understand Charles not wanting to spend the focus, but in my eyes, if I see, I don't know,
If you see an eyeball, you spend it, I think.
but it's only spending it to prevent the calculate crack. So
Still, I'd spend it. They're looking at Seer. What I was going to say was, I think a little bit what we're seeing is Steve learning Seer a little bit. He's been running a very similar version to this, but he had a Hyena instead of Seer with TA 175.
is that what they were talking about in chat with
Right.
the GBS 32C?
Exactly. So when the time came for people to change or upgrade their lists in the middle of the tournament, he just swapped out the Hyena for Seer, which a lot of people were recommending that he do.
I agree with that completely.
Oh, I agree with it as well. But I think a little bit what we're seeing this game is him kind of moving forward like he would, and then going, "Oh, I missed that. I could have done this." Which is,
Yeah.
everybody goes through that with new lists.
And Charles was earlier asking, like, wait, can you spend network calculations to use the crack shot? Which the
Right.
answer is no. And interestingly, Charles didn't spend his focus, and Steve didn't crack shot. I'm curious why, given the ship that shot had 2 calculates on him.
I don't know. He may have. I can't explain that one.
That's fine.
Once
They may
again,
have just-
hit blank. Those blanks are killing Steve, and just Charles's green dice starting to go a little hot for no damage. So you were right, Kevin. He does have a range 2 on that Z with that flanking droid.
is range 3, just barely.
Oh,
I'm
it is
zooming
it?
in like
Oh, okay.
by a hair. It is range 3 in arc. There,
Oh, well then
because-
I take credit.
Yeah, but it is in arc. It's just clipping the back corner of the Z's base.
Right. Well, yeah, and again, range 3 is not where Steve needs to be to deal damage. Not
No.
with his lack of dice mods. He needs to be at range 1. He does finally roll all paint, and he can spend that calculate for 2 hits, though he will not be able to crack shot.
No.
Z rolling perfectly fine, gets those 2 evades, spends that focus, and takes no damage.
Yep. And then we just come down to the very end with that TIE fighter. Now, as much as I think it would be hilarious for that TIE fighter to finish off the 1 health droid, I really don't think that's what Charles should shoot at
Nah,
this point.
just pop-
Set up for another double kill.
Pop a shot on that purple or the pink or whatever, and maybe you do something, maybe you don't. It does not matter. He does absolutely nothing. Charles does
No,
not
he's got
care.
the reroll.
He's got Drea. He does absolutely nothing, exactly like I said. Charles does not care. He is perfectly happy with how much he accomplished this turn.
Absolutely. Like even with the buzz droid you're gonna run over next turn. I blanked on the word for a minute there. I got disconnected from the lobby.
I did as well.
I hope I hope that the game is okay.
Usually when that happens, it means that I'm seeing questions. Did Tabletop Simulator just crash?
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All
I'm
right.
gonna quickly
Yeah.
refresh Twitch and grab a freeze frame of the game state as it was in.
Let's do that, and then we're going to put this stream on hold for just a minute while we figure this out, and we will be back in just a little while.
Don't end it just yet. Give me,
No, you think?
give me 2 seconds to grab
All
that
right.
screenshot real quick.
So it looks like it might have auto-saved.
All right, I've got the screenshot. We're good if you want to restart the stream.
Well,
Very
we're
lucky
still-
if it did autosave.
Well, we're gonna put the stream on hold for just a minute while we try and get everything set back up, and we will be back in just a little bit.
Oh, look at that! The game state is in a perfect. Oh,
Yeah,
look at that, the game
and
state
we're
is
back.
in a perfect. Oh,
Yeah,
look at that, the game
and
state
we're.
is
So welcome back. I hope you guys were able to grab a drink or something.
Main thing is they do need to reassign dials. It looks like they've paused the timer just to get things sorted. Yeah. That was an insane turn for Charles. A few things there, like you said, if that leading vulture had either done a four straight or he just chose to not barrel roll Seer, then that could have gone very differently. Drea, when you're talking about swarm versus swarm, you really got to look at like what synergies the swarms are bringing as far as how they're going to modify their dice on attack or defense. And they both have crack shots available. The advantage Steve's bringing is the many tokens he can spread out with TA175, and Charles has Drea for rerolls. Both of these are good, but in this case, Charles was able to make better use of his rerolls to give himself an early lead.
Yeah, and just in general, I think Charles just he kept it simple. He did a very simple setup. He did a very simple approach, and it's really been working out for him.
Has
Steve
absolutely.
Steve got a little fancy with it, and unfortunately, that left Seer outside of range 3 for a very important trigger, and split his swarm up so that he couldn't push damage where he really needed to. And what that led to was only 2 damage being done to Charles's entire list, and even those 2 damage were split across 2 ships, whereas Charles killed 2 ships and took another one down to 1 health.
I do think it was very important what you said earlier, and is an excellent point that Steve's reorienting his formation in order to make sure all of his ships have a potential crack shot, but only 2 rows of Charles's ships. And I do think that was significant, especially because we could have been looking at a 3rd dead vulture otherwise. But at the same time, um, I wonder if that would have worked out, if and only if that one vulture had been in range. Would that have made a difference here?
Maybe, but he might have been a little bit more free with his Seer crack shots if he had more.
Yeah. I think what I would have liked to see is from Steve last turn, just like with prescience and foreknowledge of everything that was to come. But I think possibly like take the purple Trade Federation drone and barrel roll it back towards the edge of the board so that pink can slide in along behind.
Maybe.
But I don't know if that really would have affected things, honestly. Right now,
Yeah, let's
Steve
talk about
is
this
in
turn.
a great position to do some blocking.
That's absolutely true. The Seer, whatever hit the effect of that barrel roll on the previous turn, Seer is now in a great position to come in and flank with a 2 bank and a boost and a focus. That white droid along the outside also in a perfect position to just 2 hard turn and calculate, get a good flanking position, and the rest of the droids can just 2 straight, calculate. But the problem is if they do that, they're still allowing Charles quite a number of K turns. Although if I'm Charles this turn, I just 1 straight with everybody still.
I think 1 straight with most, but I think green and blue are in a great spot to do 4K turn.
I could see a K turn out of green and then a 2 bank with blue.
Oh, I wouldn't even if you're gonna bank, a 1 bank is what I would do with that.
A 1 bank. But the thing you got to remember with these Z's is, I mean, they love focus tokens. They need focus tokens, but they're not out to see if they don't have them. They can bump all day. If Drea is still alive, that entire list is getting free rerolls.
Right. And I think probably what I'm expecting is that Steve takes that critically damaged drone and does a 2 straight and maybe a calculate. You know what? I think a 2 bank from that drone to get in the way of 2 rows of Charles's list.
Maybe.
Or perhaps no, I was thinking like maybe a 2 Talon roll, but that's
no. I think if I'm Steve, I'm 2 straighting with most of my ships here. You go in for the blocks, get them easy. And then if you're Charles, I would just 1 straight with everybody. Maybe a 4K with that Z and that TIE fighter, maybe just a 2 straight. Because then you can just 1 hard turn the next turn.
1 hard from that TIE fighter wouldn't be bad. I mean, you might clip the gas cloud, but it means you possibly get the kill shot on Trade Federation 3.
Maybe. Although if you clip that gas cloud, you're just dead because Seer's going to 2 blue bank. You know he's going to do that. So here's an interesting option for that TIE. That droid is going to move first. So you could 1 hard turn to the right and barrel roll and block Seer.
Like that. I like that a lot.
You're not going to be doing any damage anyway, but you can keep Seer at range.
And it puts you in a decent spot to K turn behind Seer next turn.
Exactly. And you keep him out of the fight because of all of the guns in this game that can do real damage, that's Seer.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, maybe some of those droids are still outside of range 3. I'm pinning my hopes there on that one hard turn. I think that's the right, or two hard turn and then barrel roll. I think that's the right move there for the mining guild.
I would personally do the one hard, because I don't think the Belba Labs one bank is not blue. If I
No, it is.
remember right.
It's one straight, two straight, and two banks, I believe.
That sounds right. I remember feeling very,
No, they don't even
very
have a one
indicative.
straight. It's
Oh,
two and
there we
it's
go.
2 and 3 straight and two banks are the blues. Okay, here's those two straights coming out from the droids that we were talking about. I mean,
that is the slowest maneuver that ship has, so
exactly.
that's fair.
And there's no reason to get fancy. I think he got fancy and it's been costing him. I think he's going to be trying to stick to fundamentals here and just take advantage of what he's got. And I think that's the right decision.
You're probably right. As as neat as I thought that two bank was, I didn't have a good plan of where that puts pink. So
Right. Unfortunately, though, that does mean this one remaining droid with a Discord missile at 1 health is probably not going to be able to shoot it effectively. And that's just, again, unfortunate that he hit that gas cloud last turn and did not get his calculate.
Yeah, that three straights. Sorry, the three straight that the Discords launch on is just going to shoot all the way past all of them.
So, yeah, ultimately, all of these Discords that he shot, all of the ones in his list, what he's going to get out of them is a single point of damage. And for Steve, with this setup, that's not what he wanted to see.
Yeah. In fact,
he's barrel rolling.
Now that's
okay.
Wait.
I think he hit the wrong thing there on his. Okay.
That or he's looking to see, like, he barrel rolled left and he wanted to barrel roll backwards, or
yeah, I think he just hit the wrong thing. I still don't know why he did that.
Okay. Yeah, that's maybe he's trying to save it for something, but
yeah, but you don't get free moves over the asteroids like those mining guild ties do, and that ship's at 1 health.
Yeah, that's the one with like, they don't have struts,
plus what?
And he's
okay. But this was his plan. He was going to move and barrel roll that, and then shoot the rest of these forward to try to do some damage here with anything that survives.
I suppose he's trying to. The barrel roll is to get him out of the way and allow his full health ships to get range 1 shots when they don't have weapons failure.
Maybe, but unfortunately, he bumped that 2 hard turn we were talking about.
Yeah, that 2 hard turn was looking pretty great, and there's the
there
one
it
hard
is.
from Charles.
There it is.
That's beautiful.
He needs to barrel roll, which he's doing, and there it is.
For it.
Excellent, excellent, Charles. I love you so much.
That's fantastic.
And there's that bump that we were talking about. Perfect move from Charles there. Excellent.
And now we're looking at another possible situation of another ship maybe being out of range of TA-175.
Exactly right. So here's that K turn we were talking about with green. That's
I still
perfect.
think blue is possible to do a K turn.
No, blue's going to 1 straight, just like we talked about.
That's fair.
And I believe Charles is just going to be 1 straighting with the rest of his list. Maybe we'll see a K turn from yellow, but I doubt it. Yeah, there's that 1 straight. It is going to hit the Discord.
Because it's going to hit the Discord, but then Brown's going to hit it afterwards, and the final position of that Discord is going to be behind Brown.
No, I think it's just he's just not going to be able to place it, and it's going to deal a point of damage, and it's going to go away.
I think it fits between yellow and brown in the back there. Okay. But in the end, it still just does a 1 point of damage and goes away. Oh, they had a bit of issues with the loading of the game with the Discords a little bit here.
Discords are acting up a little bit, but that's okay. I think they both know what's going on.
They do.
And so this again is a little bit what we were talking about with. Okay, so they're gonna try. He's gonna try and put it behind yellow here.
I do think it fits
You
there
think it
between
fits?
the two
Okay,
ships.
it does. You're right. It fits. But then you're right. Also, brown is gonna hit it.
It's still gonna only do a point of damage, but that's damage is damage, I suppose. But yeah, it's going to attach to the back of brown, and
Yeah. Who is at full health? Although maybe not
but
for very
yeah,
long.
I think what Steve is hoping to do is use drone red. God, the red and the pink are very close together
I
over
hear
here.
ya.
Use red to crack shot brown down to like shields or shields down, and then
Right.
take that crit at the end.
And just pray it's a direct hit in some way. Okay, they're having they're having issues. Maybe they can just put it behind it. There we go. All right.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. There's
So
another
that's
one
exactly
back
what you were
under there,
talking
but
about.
it's fine.
Who cares? And then from Charles, the rest from Charles, one straight. So this is we predicted. Let's pat ourselves on the back here. We predicted exactly Charles's move down to every single ship.
No, we thought for a one bank for blue.
Okay, all right, shut up. Yeah, I still okay, and I still liked the one bank from the blue. I think that would have given him a crack shot where he doesn't have one now.
I think I agree that liking the one bank, but I think it probably would have bumped into yellow.
Oh, it
which
absolutely would have bumped into yellow.
I'm guessing Charles was probably just thinking he wants the focus. Range 1 with a focus with a reroll.
Yeah, that's not wrong. It's not wrong.
Plus, it makes it easier to fly the formation later.
That's true. So that's all of the movement. Drea obviously bumps as well. Charles does not care that he bumped with the majority of his list. It's completely fine.
No.
He did. He bumped Seer way the hell over there. I don't know if Pink is at range 0 to 3 of Seer.
That's what I was thinking about earlier, and the I think that's actually red, but
that said, Seer shouldn't be stressed anymore, right?
That should have cleared his stress, yes. But
we'll let the players deal with that. Okay,
they'll work it out.
So Drea has a shot here, range 1 on that droid with 1 health.
And that's where I would go personally.
Yeah, I could.
Well, I don't know, actually.
There's no reason not to. I mean, with networked calculations, these guys can spend each other's tokens. The downside
only one each.
That's true. And the downside to shooting at that droid, of course, is that if you actually do end up killing it, then they get TA 175. The other downside is Drea has no mods. Drea can't use Drea's own pilot ability for rerolls. Mm-hmm. And Drea does have crack shot on that one right in front of Drea.
Yeah, the crack shot is what I was thinking about.
So I think Drea rolls hit crit. I still don't know
who's that on.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
The droid rolls blank focus, so at least 1 damage is coming through here.
And it looks like
he was shooting the damaged one. Okay. So
I mean, they would get TA 175 anyway in the middle of the initiative step, so it's not like it matters.
Right.
But at the same time, that crack shot's nice. There's also the hey, is red out of range? Let's find out. But honestly, just killing a ship we're talking like lots of fancy optimizations, but Charles is ahead, right, and he's killed another ship before it gets to shoot.
Exactly right. TA 175 does go off. That ship is within range 0 to 3.
And he's checking to see if we're going to find out if red is in range, actually.
Yeah, because he needs to see if that ship gets a free calculate. Mm-hmm. And he is. Okay. That bump was still effective, though, because what it prevents is Seer using his gun to kill that mining guild tie or to do any damage whatsoever. Seer could have easily 2-banked in, barrel roll focus, and be in the perfect position to flank and kill Drea, and now he is just not.
Drea or a Z95.
Right. So he's stuck on the fringes. But TA 175 does go off because Charles did kill a ship, and Charles is not going to be done here. A Z95 is going to start shooting. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a focus on most of these, so this is only going to be a single hit with that Drea reroll.
It looks like that's on pink in the back from yellow.
I would imagine, yeah. Pink rolls a blank focused. Steve's dice just not doing anything for him here.
The green dice always betray you. Remember that.
That said, I don't think the Z has a crack available to it here. So
No, this is yellow shooting out the corner
Correct.
of his base at pink. So
he's
yeah,
going to
absolutely.
spend one of those many calculates he gets from TA 175 and take no damage. But we're not done yet. Charles has another shot here from the Z that K turned. It looks like he's going to be taking a shot onto pink there. That will be range 1. 3 dice from Charles. And he will get a Drea reroll. He'll use that Drea reroll for 2 hits. That's not bad.
Yeah, and that's the one I would like to, because that's the one that's got a range 1 in bullseye from brown, got a range 1 from blue with a focus.
Right, and Steve's dice are starting to pick up a little bit. He's got all the calculates in the world to spend for 2 evades, takes no damage again. And that TA 175, now that he's got Seer in range to activate it, is really going to work and helping prevent damage coming Steve's direction.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, for all that we're talking about Seer being stuck on the fringes there, Steve is accomplishing what he wanted to do with that, which is that Seer has taken no damage. Seer hasn't even been shot. So Seer is getting to be very protected there.
Yeah.
Charles having trouble without those focuses pushing damage. He only gets 1 hit from this roll.
I guess yellow hadn't shot before. I'm a little confused, but
that was brown shooting there.
We were talking earlier about how Seer being on the inside of the form, or the outside edge of the formation or closer to the center of the board might be a liability, but yeah, he's leveraged it really well where he's taken advantage of putting him in a flanking position. Aside from the one droid being out of range, but
and the other thing he's lacking, of course, is Seer being able to really push damage like you want to, and that is unfortunate. So Charles does get a pretty decent roll here and a hit crit, double blanks coming through on that evade roll. So that droid is going to take a little bit of damage here. I believe that's pink.
That was I think that was brown shooting into it was a range 1 shot, so I'm assuming into, I guess we'll find out when cards are that was into red.
Which looks exactly like
brown
pink
shooting into red directly in front of him. That's right. Yeah, because he's got crack shot of it.
Can you get that crit for me?
Oh, sure. Let me zoom over. That is a stunned pilot. Don't hit obstacles. Pretty sure that droid is not long for this world anyway.
No, and Charles doing a good job too in prioritizing killing the droids that have Discord missiles. Even if they've already spent them, they are more expensive. And he gets a 3 damage through on that droid to kill it. So that's 2 more damage coming through on that droid, and that will be another dead droid and another TA 175 going off.
And now they've partied too hard. They don't know what to do with all these calculates.
But look at Charles here. You were talking at the beginning of the game. What Charles needs to do is kill 2 droids in the first round of engagement. And Charles says, "Nah, I can kill true droids in every round of engagement."
Right? Yeah,
and he is doing just fine in the process.
He's cut the swarm down to 3 droids,
and he hasn't lost a single ship in doing it. Although that might change here. Certainly, there's some Seer crack shot ability going on here.
For sure.
So something that I thought he might do, which I'm very glad he didn't, is Drea could actually have shot that Discord missile with the dorsal turret. And I'm very glad he didn't, because he needed all of those shots and he got them. But that was an option. I was wondering if he was going to take it. So Seer is going to take a pot shot here. All of his shots are range 3. He doesn't have any mods, of course. Neither do the defenders. So he's probably, I think he's probably going to take a pot shot. Who he shoots here is going to reveal who he's going to shoot later. He could take a pot shot at Drea here because all of his ships can shoot Drea. And Drea not only is a good enabler for Charles in terms of rerolls, but is also by far the most expensive thing Charles has.
Yeah, if it were me, it is a range 3 shot to Drea, but that's kind of where I would go because you've
And he's
got
doing
crack
it.
lined up from blue and
Yeah, he could. It is not impossible here, if he rolls well, to just take Drea right off the board. That makes it a little harder. And that's,
I think
again, and Charles just completely evades it. And that's what we were talking about with that great maneuver from Charles on that Mining Guild tie. Prevents Seer from doing any damage to Drea this turn, and that's going to make it a lot harder for Steve to pull the Hail Mary he wants and just take Drea off the board here.
yeah, no, absolutely. And what's more, if he wants to shoot at Z95s instead, blue can't shoot it. So it makes the most sense for him to start shooting at Drea. And he's
Right.
still shooting at Drea, which is fair.
Yeah, and he does 2 shields there. Drea is now shieldless, but still has 6 hull to go.
Hmm. Could easily see Drea go down to half points. And we do still have a third vulture shot, actually, come to think of it. So Drea still could die.
No, we have 2 more vulture shots, don't we?
Uh,
Oh,
yes,
no, I
no,
see.
you're right. You're right. Pink is shooting. I think.
That was Blue's shot first, because that was at range 1.
Correct.
He has 2 more to go. That first one was Seer doing nothing. I think he's thinking about
Yeah.
target priority here, because he doesn't have a range 1 on Drea with pink, but he does have what looks like a range 1 on the yellow Z, and I think he's going to take that for 2 hits and a crit. If Charles doesn't
mean,
roll an evade, that is a dead Z, and that is a dead Z just right off the bat there.
green dice being cruel to both players at this point.
That is correct.
Hull breach out of the way from Charles, but it's dead anyway. It's just nice to see that crit not in the deck anymore.
Right. But Steve there getting a little bit of what he needs and taking one of those Z's off the board. And he has one more shot here. Probably in at Drea. There's no other damaged Z's on the board, and he really needs to take Drea down to at least half to get some points here. I'll note that the clock has run out. They are doing the 60-minute rounds like we do in Corona Cup, and that means that they have 2 more full rounds after this one. Kevin, can you jump into chat and confirm with that they're aware of that?
Yeah, I will make sure. I will tell them.
If any of you are wondering why this game is going a little slowly, that's just kind of what you get with 2 6 to 8 ship swarm lists with tons of triggers. I mean, that's just how it works, unfortunately. The other ship putting some damage through to Drea, like we thought. That's going to be 2 more damage to Drea, and that will be Drea down to half.
And yeah, Drea's now at half, and Steve has caught up in points almost. Almost.
Almost.
And yeah,
Steve at 52 points. Charles at 88 still. A good lead for Charles here. Especially because they're both of these guys, their lists are so full of such cheap ships. It's a little difficult to just have a massive point swing happen all of a sudden. I mean, Seer is pretty expensive. So is Drea, but that's all you're going to see, really.
no, I think personally, I feel like Drea is easier to kill than Seer.
Oh, 100% Drea is easier to kill than Seer.
Now, what I think would be really cool here is if Charles 4Ks Drea.
You think?
That's I mean, that's the only maneuver he's got that would result in. I mean, he could 4 straight, I suppose. I don't think that's red on the wire. Um, um, if he wants to get fancy, he could do like a 4 straight or 3 bank and point the turret to the rear and still get rerolls.
That 4 straight is definitely red on the Scum Y-Wing.
Okay.
But he could, yeah, he could, 3, he could, the 3 bank is white.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 3 hard turn is red. I think
I
he's...
don't see the 3 hard turn coming into play at all
I
here.
don't either. I think so. You can K-turn your Mining Guild tie. You know, you've done your work. Now you can just flank behind Seer and take some pot shots. I think he blue banks for straights with that stressed C and just 4Ks the other ones. Did that remaining? Yeah, and so we have the Discord missile did do 1 shield to Brown. So I'll adjust that.
Probably see like probably you'd see the Trade Federation drone in front cannot either Talon roll or K turn here. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Steve is in a little bit more of a bad position here than he was last turn because his droids they don't have the kind of lengthy turnarounds that the Z's do. They don't have a 3 or 4 or 5K. So where Charles is just going to be able to leapfrog and just 4K over everything and be very secure in it, the droids are not really able to do that. They have, what, a 1 hard turn or a 1K turn and a 2 Talon?
That's correct. Yeah.
And neither of those is going to fit here.
I think Pink can fit the 2 Talon left pretty easily and then set himself up for possible crack shot on Brown, who's already down one.
Maybe.
Also sets up for a decent block on green, depending on how fast it goes.
It's possible.
The one I don't know what he does is
purple.
Purple.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
in
whatever.
front.
I think it's blue. It's just showing as purple because it's so thin on the ship.
Yeah, and the problem with his position is it's just going to neither the 2 Talon or the K are going to fit here. And that affects what white is going to do on the flanks.
Let me ask you this though: do you think Charles 2 hard turns with the Z's?
No, I think K turns.
Because then he can come in at Seer.
I think he K turns, ignores Seer for now, because it'll put the gas cloud between him and Seer if he K turns with 4s.
Maybe.
And just focuses on killing the rest of the droids and then letting Seer wander into the kill box.
The problem, though, I mean, Z's do not have a great, just like the droids and the bells, the Belbs. Z's do not have a great way to clear stress and still turn. So if you K turn here with the Z's, you are kind of stuck in this alley because there's only 2 turns left. So if you K turn this turn with the Z's, you are never going to shoot Seer. You just aren't. It is impossible. At least effectively. So, okay, here's this Talon coming through from blue. What's what you were talking about?
Did he attempt the Talon? And
I think he's about to do it. So he's going to put him behind that rock, but he is going to successfully turn around and he is going to be safe. He doesn't want to do that.
No, he's gauging
He's just
where
playing
he is.
around. Yeah, that's fine.
And behind the rock is fine. It's just, it's not ideal.
And that droid isn't damaged, so he didn't really need to save it. It is going to be stressed. It's not going to be able to have that. As we start talking about like last 2 turns, right?
Oh no!
He's just. I think what he's doing is he just set that up in case Charles tries to 1 straight. I think that's all he was trying to do there.
I suppose, but I still think the Talon roll would have been better.
So as we start talking about the last 2 turns, right? Where we're at is that droid behind that rock, stressed this turn, hitting the rock next turn, will not get an action for the rest of the game. In fact, none of his Okay, there's that K turn we were talking about with the Mining Guild tie. That's a good decision. None of the droids are going to get a calculate here.
No, that's setting an unfortunate. That's giving Charles an opportunity to kill another droid without any calculates to modify any.
Right. So there's the 2 bank from Seer. That's not a surprise. He's just going to focus. And that's
I'm
completely
actually am
fine.
kind of surprised. I would have expected maybe a 1 bank.
He needs to get in. He needs to start killing things, and he knows that. So a 1 straight from this Z. I really would have 2 banked. You need to get in arc in those shots, and he's not going to have any arcs, and that was somewhat predictable.
He does still have barrel roll, and he might barrel roll that Z95
Yeah.
behind the droids.
And it's looking like that's what he's thinking about doing, but that's still you could have banked and then focused, and that would have been a better position. Still leave plenty of room for those K turns, but he will move. That's the right call at that point. Take the stress. That is a red barrel roll.
And it does still leave room for Brown to K turn around.
You really hope it does. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, it does. For the 4K had plenty of room there.
So he will just 1 straight this red Z. That's an interesting decision. And 4K Drea, there you go. So good call there.
The very neat thing about Drea 4King there is now his dorsal turret is pointed at Seer.
Yeah, although nobody else is pointed at Seer, so
Sure, but it is a nice little threat to have, I suppose.
yeah. I wonder if that's obstructed or not.
I cannot tell. There's quite a number of lines on the board. It's Seer certainly will not have an obstructed shot on Drea. I think Seer has a shot on Drea, but I think the arc line clips further away, and Drea's shot back at Seer might be obstructed.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting that Drea will shoot the pink in front.
Oh yeah, just keep taking droids off the table. Shore up your points. You're going to lose a ship if you're Charles. You know you're going to lose another ship. You might lose Drea. While you can, just reduce the number of enemy ships on the board, and that's exactly what he's doing here with the Drea shot. And into pink, it looks like.
Yeah.
He's only getting 1 hit, though. That's expected. Drea is probably his weakest gun. But, hey, look, the opponent has no dice mods, and so he's still going to push a point of damage through.
Yeah. And, even if you're Charles, if you give up Drea for the cost of taking out the entire Vulture Swarm, that's win.
Oh, absolutely. You take that deal in a heartbeat. So he's got another shot coming in here. Looks like range 2. He's going to get that Drea reroll, which is money. That's going to be 2 hits coming in on that droid. Still has no mods because nothing has died. Something very well might be about to die.
Now this might be the turn you set up for multiple kills.
And but that is a dead droid right there.
Well, there you go. And that's pink dead, so we're down to just white and blue.
That is correct. But that will TA 175.
Oh, certainly. And now we finally have some calculates on the board.
Right. Charles is still continuing to shoot. That's just a single hit coming through onto probably a white there, I would expect.
Yeah, that looks like it's brown shooting at white, which is
Agreed.
Totally makes sense. You shoot green first, since the only shot green had was really on.
And Steve's dice will finally do him a little bit of a favor here. Evade that. And then Charles has 1 more shot here, which looks like he's going to take into the droid back behind that asteroid, which is going to be a single crit with that Drea reroll.
Yeah, it didn't seem like blue had arc on white, unfortunately. But both of them are full health, and that's oh no, he's got to calculate, so he can spend it.
He can. The question is, does he want to?
Rather than take a crit?
Well,
personally?
okay, he's gonna spend it. Well, on the other hand, that means he's only got 1 calculate on the board to attack with here, and he really needs to start pushing damage.
It's true. But if that crit had been a direct, then that would be giving up more points again, and also setting up the ship to possibly die as it flies through the rock. So I don't blame him
True.
for spending to calculate. Steve's in a really rough spot.
Oh, and I just realized, so kudos actually for pointing out that the dorsals pointed at Seer, because I completely forgot about that mining guild tie back there.
Oh,
So
that's right.
that is
And that
going
means
to,
the mining guild.
right, that's going to give him a reroll when he attacks Seer, which might make Seer a little bit more cautious in spending that focus offensively.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that, but yeah.
So Charles continuing to be in a very good position here. You know, coming into this round of shooting, Charles has double Steve's points at 107 to 52. It's going to be an uphill climb at this point for Steve to take enough off the table for it to really matter. I mean, really, what you want to do is kill Drea, but you only have one shot on Drea, and it's not a. Oh, you have two shots on Drea, so you could do something here with Seer and that droid, but they're not good shots. You really need to. You need to take Drea off, and then I think he needs to take two more. He needs to kill Drea and two more Z's here to, without losing anything else, to fill this gap, and that's starting to be an impossible points gap to close here for Steve.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but it's certainly going to be a hell of a dice Hail Mary to make it happen. Not to mention, I think the only way he could even try to do that would be if that white Federation drone would do, say, like a Talon roll or a K-turn next turn. But then he's still definitely getting shot at.
Did Charles shoot that red Z yet?
Yes.
He did? I couldn't remember. But
so they're checking Seer.
Yeah,
so
Steve's,
Seer does have a shot on Drea, and it is unobstructed.
And you have to take
the arc line.
Drea has 4 health left. If you can put a couple points of damage here through with Seer, maybe take Drea down to 1 health, and the droid can finish Drea this turn, you open up a glimpse of the possibility of victory here.
Yeah.
And you're still not anywhere close, but you have to go for Hail Marys like that when you're this far behind.
And it's also important to fight for MOV for placings later.
That's true as well. This is not the last round of the Cup. The last round of Swiss will be next week. Both of these players, I believe, are 2-1, which means that both of these players could still meet cut if their MOV is good enough. So you definitely want to take as many points as you can, even if you don't think you can win.
Unfortunately, the downside to that shot at Drea being out unobstructed is that it is range 2 to Drea, according to the chat.
That's true. So he's going to do it. He's going to shoot Drea here. That's the right call.
Sure.
That's a good roll. He's going to have to spend that focus. He needs this damage. He's going to spend it. And then he needs Drea not to roll and evade. And he's getting it so far. So Drea takes 3 points of damage and goes down to 1 health.
That's what you need. That's a break that Steve absolutely needed here.
It's not a break yet. He needs this next one to go well. That's going to be a range 2 obstructed into Drea. And he needs to take it. And he needs to roll paint. He does
at least have the ability. Yeah, sorry, we were just to both of us.
No, we were both on the same page there. He can use network calculations to spend his buddies calculate. But he has to roll some paint, and Charles has to not.
Yeah, thinking about it, if let's see here, if Drea dies, Steve picks up what, 27 points?
26 points at this point.
6 points, okay.
Which,
yeah,
I will remind you, is only 1 point more than killing an entire Z.
So if Steve doesn't need to finish off another Z, if he can do one more damage to Black Sun Soldier 4, and then have another Z95 without taking any further damage. That does put him ahead of Charles.
If he also kills Drea.
Sure, we're starting with the assumption he kills Drea.
Right. Who's he shooting here?
I assume
Not
Drea.
Not Drea.
Well, he doesn't have range 1 on anyone, so I don't know what the 3 dice are.
Yeah.
But
Not sure what's going on here. Unless that blank was just there from last turn.
oh yeah, that was just a
Okay,
blank.
so he's shooting a
on-
Z
It was
here,
a blank eyeball.
who rolls double natties. To
No, that
complete-
was Drea. That was
that
Drea.
oh that okay, so that was his range 2 shot through the obstacles at Drea. He got what he needed, but Drea did not give what he wanted. Drea rolls double natties, takes no damage, and survives.
I mean, what he needed was 2 paint, and he got only eyeball blank, which just you hate to see it kill.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was debating spending the calculate is like
He
this
had to,
shot
though.
might already be lost.
But
Yeah,
he had to spend it. He had to Hail Mary it. Drea had no mods. It was entirely possible that Drea rolled double focus or double blank, but it was not to be. And then he has this shot, range 1 at a Z, just 1 hit out of 3 dice, and that Z is going to just completely evade it. And there goes Steve's hopes by and large. It's still not impossible, but it just became infinitely more difficult.
Yeah, he's got 3 shots where he needs to do significant damage to 3 different ships.
And here's the Mining Guild tie, a little bit adding more fuel to the fire, rolling on Seer there. Just 1 hit, though, at range 3. That probably won't do much. This Seer, though, is not a soulless one. It doesn't have all that extra health. You only need to deal 3 damage, but it will evade.
It would have felt like insult to injury
Yeah.
if Steve Sear had taken like a shield and
Yeah, had
being
just gone
threatened
shieldless
dropping
this
to
turn.
half. Yeah.
Drea's so the other problem with Drea not dying here is not just a points thing. Drea out PSs everybody on the board. They're coming into the final turn here. This is the last turn of this game. And Drea will get to shoot one more time with that dorsal or with the primary. And that just means that once again, Seer and all those droids are still threatened.
Absolutely.
But
You know,
okay,
we're talking about it being a Hail Mary, but it really is that. It's not impossible. Again, and I would love, like, I would be.
Oh, I
as
love
much as
seeing
I loved-
swings.
Yeah, exactly. As much as I like Charles as a friend, he's a wonderful person, but swing games like that are just like, that would be insane.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunately what he really needed to make that happen was a dead Drea, and he just did not get that. So, but okay, this turn, it is still not completely over. There's a
No.
big gun coming in from Seer. He's probably going to be at range 1. It's not impossible. He just wipes a Z95 off the board in one go. There's 2 droids left. One of them can kill Drea. The other one can half a Z. And then that's exactly what Kevin was talking about right there. So what Steve needs to do here, he has... Kevin, what were you saying? He has to kill Drea. And he has
kill
to...
Drea, and then either completely kill the Z95 that's at 1 shield, or do 1 damage to that one and 2 more to another one. And I believe, or 1 more damage to the TIE Fighter.
No, that doesn't... Charles is at 107. That doesn't quite get him there.
Does it not? If he kills, if he kills Drea,
He has 52 right now.
and then if he takes, so if he kills Drea, he goes to what, 70?
78. And then if he
78.
kills a Z, he gets to 103. That's not quite enough. He has to
Oh, if
kill
he straight up
Drea.
kills the Z. Oh,
He has to kill Drea, kill a full health Z, and half another one.
Well, not a full health Z. The Black Sun 4 is missing a shield.
Right,
That's,
so
Brown.
He has to kill Brown, kill Drea, and have another Z.
Or 1 more point of damage to the TIE Fighter.
Or 1 more point of damage to the TIE Fighter. Very good call. So
I
he
forgot to check the health of that one way off in the corner there.
so he has, and this is where we talk about this as a Hail Mary. Steve needs to do exactly what he needs. He needs to do it with 3 separate shots, and he has 3 ships on the board. He has to do what he needs with every single one of his remaining shots. He can't whiff, and he can't miss. And if Charles rolls well, it's still over.
Or if that asteroid decides to be cruel to the
Oh,
vulture in
God.
front of it. Which 50-50 shot, but as long as there's a chance, keep fighting for it,
Absolutely. Well, and he's only going to go below half on that droid if he rolls a crit on that asteroid and then gets a direct hit, but it's not impossible. It's happened.
Sure. I'm more thinking that if he takes a damage on that asteroid, then he's 1 point away from being halved himself.
Right. Okay, but so moves. Mining Guild tie, just going to probably 2 bank forward, grab that focus.
Well, I would just 2 straight.
Yeah,
Keep it simple. 2
Keep it
straight,
simple.
find your target.
fair enough. All of Charles's
Maybe
ships
3 straight, but
probably just blue banks.
the problem is that a lot of those Z's are going to shoot past. If they do the 2 bank blue, they're just going to shoot right past.
So maybe you just 2 hard turn and say screw the stress.
Or
I don't know that
I'm
red
thinking-
makes
I
that
think
4K.
Brown does a 1 straight. I think blue does a 1 straight. I think green might just bug out to avoid hitting the buzz droid.
Maybe. Yeah, Charles. If Charles is aware of his board state, is aware of what Steve needs to do, he might be prioritizing letting Brown do a blue move and get a focus, just to be as defensive as humanly possible about this. And then blue can kind of do a hard turn, bump into Brown. Green can 2 hard turn. Drea can just 1 straight. Drea's going to die. I mean, Drea has to die this turn. So you just want to be able to do as much damage with Drea before Drea dies.
Sure. Now, what does Seer do this round? Is what I'm very curious about, because they don't have a 1 straight on that Belbalab.
No, Seer's in a very unfortunate position here. I think you just 2 straight with Seer. That is the very best you can do. You would want to bug out, probably, but you can't. You have to get Seer at range 1 of something, and he has to be focused. So you could 2 bank him in, I guess, bump Drea. And
even a 2 straight bumps Drea.
Yeah, but the 2 bank also probably gets you a good shot on the Z's. On Brown especially.
I'd be worried about the 2 bank hitting green where it's sitting.
No way.
You don't think so?
No way. The 3 would, but the 2 would fit. Okay, 3 hard turn here from that droid. That's already starting to cause a problem for Steve.
3 hard turn. Calculate he was going to get this round.
Right, 3 hard turn from that droid. Yeah, he's going to have to roll for that asteroid damage. Unfortunately, both of his droids have bumped. Thankfully, he didn't take any damage, but it's starting to be more difficult for him to survive with these ships to actually take shots. Also,
Yeah,
the fact that ship is there means that Seer's going to have a hard time moving without bumping.
3 straight from the Mining Guild, completely fair option.
Absolutely. Take that focus. You're just fine where you are. 1 bank with Seer, but he bumps. And unfortunately, this is just going downhill for Steve.
Yeah, I can see Drea doing a 1 straight, bumping into that that Vulture, but then has a range 1 dorsal turret shot on.
Yeah.
Brown does the 1 straight. I'm a little... I'm guessing green must have also done something that will bump. Yeah, because otherwise you would want to do green first to get him out of the way.
And then you've got these banks coming in from the rest of them, like we talked about. You just want arcs this turn. It doesn't really matter if you're stressed or not. That 4K, yeah, that was a bad idea. You should have just 1 straighted there. We
Yeah, that
we're
4K
kind of
wasn't
talking
going
about
to
that
fit.
not going to fit, but that's okay. Again, Charles is ahead here. Minor errors like that, you can live with that. Just all you can do is focus there.
Yeah, there's no other option.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. And then Drea is just gonna, you know,
Even worse for Steve,
sit
Drea's
right
going
there.
to bump into the Z95 and have all of the options to Drea
Right.
tries to one bank right. I could see that. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
But it's fine. And then Drea's gonna shoot, and Drea, by the way, still has her crack shot.
I was literally gonna say the same thing right there.
So Drea probably just gonna shoot that ship right ahead of her, try to take a crack on it, and maybe just take it off the board. If
Range
any,
1 on everyone.
if any of Steve's ships go below half, and especially if any of them get taken off of the board, that is game.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that Steve can do about it.
He did deny. Almost no one had actions this round, at least in Steve's favor.
But Steve needed the actions.
He did.
So Drea, range 1 here.
I don't even know who
rolls
Drea shot.
2 hits and a crit. Oh my god.
Oh no.
The opponent evade focus. That Seer he was shooting. That's going to be 2 hits on Seer. Seer's down to just 3 hull, 1 away from half.
I was going to say, we're about to find out if that was the droid with crack shot range.
I still think he should have shot the droid.
I think he was looking at who else might have shots on the droid, but yeah,
but that would have been a dead droid. Come on.
It would have.
Okay, so another shot coming through. The Z's starting to shoot at stuff.
That was Green's shot at Purple.
Right, so Purple taking a point of damage here. And it's just starting to kind of steamroll a little bit. However, I'll note that none of Steve's ships have gone below half yet, and none of them are off the board.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
Charles so good as far as Steve is concerned, and there's only one more Z95 to shoot, actually.
Yeah, this might be the last decent Z shot. It is going to be, with Drea reroll, just 2 crits onto that droid. Steve needs to roll double natties here. He does not get it. That is a dead droid with 2 crits. He does not have any calculates to spend on defense because he bumped.
Oh my god. That poor
and
droid.
that is unfortunately going to be game as far as points are concerned. So the rest of this is just going to be cleanup. Steve is going to just be trying to get as many points as he can, bump him up a little bit in the rankings. We'll see how the rest of this goes. I think you're right. I don't know that the blue Z has a really good shot here.
That has no shots. They just checked.
Oh, they just checked.
Blue has no targets.
So that the TA-175 goes off. The one remaining droid does get a calculate. Seer is going to be able to shoot. That droid is going to be able to shoot. But then the Mining Guild tie has a range 2 on Seer. If the Mining Guild tie can put 1 point of damage on Seer, that's another pretty good points increase for Charles there.
And Seer has to kill Drea with
right,
or else, then
the
Mining Guild gets a reroll.
Right. Well, Seer obviously here is going to roll 4 dice, put that into Drea, and really, really just pray that your dice treat you well here. Seer has no mods to speak of, but only has to do 1 damage. Oh my god, that's not what you want to see. Only 1 hit. Only 1 hit. Result. Charles rolls an evade because of course he does. Oh my god, and Seer and Drea just lives.
Charles even apologizes for the roll.
I
don't blame him. That's heartbreaking.
That is insult to injury right there.
It really is.
Steve, it's looking like Steve is going to accomplish exactly nothing of what he set out to accomplish this turn. He's going to try to do just a little bit more damage. If he can do 1 point of
does have
damage to
bullseye.
Brown, is he
He
going
does
to do?
have bullseye on range
No.
1 on
No.
yes, range 1 bullseye.
I know, but you
on
shoot
number 5.
Brown. But you shoot Brown. Brown is already 1 shield away from half, and you. Oh my God.
Oh.
Steve rolls 2 blanks and a focus. He will have a calculate from TA 175, so he's got 1 hit. Charles. Oh my God, Charles rolls the evade, and Charles proceeds to take exactly no damage this turn.
Oh my God.
And here's the
That's
last
just-
shot. Mining Guild tie into Seer. Mining Guild tie has a Drea reroll and a focus. Seer has no mods to speak of and only takes, if Seer takes 1, that's half.
That was just
Oh,
that you hate to see that.
that's
frankly.
rough.
It's just
Well, last shot here. I see what they're talking about.
I think they're talking just like general strategy thoughts. No, the
Right.
game's over.
Yeah,
This
they're
last
probably
roll is
starting to
just a
slow down
formality.
here coming into the end. Yeah, you can see they're moving around talking about ship formations and approach. Here's the roll from the Mining Guild tie. That's going to be a hit and a crit coming in at Seer. Seer will have 2 dice in defense. Seer needs to roll completely double natty evades to stay away from half.
God, and now my brain's just immediately gone to what happens
And
if that's
he
a blank
does
and
not
rect-
do that. That is just going to be 1 crit through on Seer. That is going to put Seer below half. Ugh.
Oh, this is just a tragedy. Damage sensor array, which all right, whatever. I mean, the game's over.
So yeah, that is going to be game there. Steve destroys 52. Charles destroys 153. A very good game. Unfortunately, that first round of engagement just kind of set the rest of the game up.
Yeah, that was absolutely a tone setter for sure.
Steve getting a little fancy with his approach, and Charles keeping it simple and punishing him for it. And just Steve could not quite get the damage back that he needed to.
I'm really I don't know if I hate the fancy approach, but the problem I think the biggest problem was starting off with that first droid being outside of range 3 of C. And then
Yeah,
maybe
that
some
was rough.
choice uses of calculate here and there, but otherwise, let's go ahead and grab the players in for some post game, I believe.
Yeah, I'm inviting them here into Discord. They'll be here momentarily, or at least I'm sure at least Charles will be.
But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that first droid dying was as catastrophic as I think it was?
Yeah, I think, well, to be sure about it, I would need to go back and kind of rewatch the rolls. But, I mean, the fact that he was able to kill essentially 2 droids for free before the TA-175 kicked in and stopped the rest of that damage, that's huge.
It is.
I mean, what you were
Absolutely.
talking about at the beginning of the game is Charles needs to kill 2 droids in that first round of engagement to have the advantage. And the fact that he was able to do that for free set him up for victory.
Cool. See you in a sec. Hey guys, we're
Hey.
joining you. He's got to get into the Discord though.
Sure. But
Alrighty.
we have Charles here. Congratulations, Charles.
Hey, thanks, man. It's the first time I've played a swarm in a tournament ever.
Well, it did not look that way, man.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, congratulations for sure.
Well, while we're waiting for Steve to pop in, Charles, do you want to talk a little bit about your approach to this game?
Yes. So I've played this game a few times in FC this week. By a few, I mean like 15 times probably.
Oh Lord.
And it's interesting because I learned a lot about different ways, to do my formations, which side of the board to line up on, rocks. Like turn 0 is like super important. It feels for swarms, maybe more so than like your typical ace list, which is what I usually play: 3 or 4 ships and hopefully a high initiative one in the mix. And we were talking about this during this game. It really surprised him that I put Drea on the inside. But what I learned was if I put Drea in the inside and I have some rocks near the border of where you can do rock placement, and I put her turret to the outside after I got close to that first rock and did a 2 hard or something like that, or 4K, then she's got cover, and she may have taken some damage, but she lives through the rest of the game and she does her job, which is not to shoot, but to give the rest of the list reroll. So I know it's a little bit of an unorthodox formation and approach to the game, but that's just from my little trial and error. That's what I figured out was so important, was to protect Drea, which means the game, really.
For sure, yeah, and like I don't think we brought it up at the time. We were noticing that, come to think of it, both of y'all had your swarm enhancing pieces on the inside of your formations, closer to the center of the board. I did note at the time, I thought it was strange your target.
Right. Well, and what I wanted to do was to take Seer out of the game. So, what I would have preferred Steve doing was not having Seer go up the middle of the board, not protecting Seer, giving me a chance to do attacks on Seer. In every game that I simulated with FC, where Seer was in the block and came forward with everybody else, I killed Seer in the first turn of the engagement. So I think Steve having Seer play in the middle of the board, being range 3 of most of his ships, that was key.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that with Seer being on that outside flanking around and wondering if that was the right call. On the one hand, it did leave him beyond range 3 of that one key droid on that one first turn of engagement, which was very unfortunate. But also it meant that he didn't have that big 3-dice gun to kill your Z's off with. But he was very safe.
I will say I think both of us are on the same boat of commending that one hard turn barrel roll to block Seer. We were both talking how that would be perfect.
Right.
And then the dial flipped up. It was the one hard turn, and we're both just cheering over here like, that's exactly what it needed to be.
We were very excited about that move. We were just like, come on,
funny.
Charles, come on, do it.
I actually basically dialed that maneuver in my head before we got to that, in the previous turn, before shooting ever started.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it was that we were very excited to see that one. Steve,
well,
welcome.
Because he gave me initiative, I could do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No, you're good, man.
The thing acts. It keeps saying I have an account, but then saying that I'm a new user at the same time. So
That sounds right. Well, thanks for letting us stream your game, man. That was a heck of a game.
yeah, after last week's heartbreak against Brandon, I figured, why not go 2 for 2? No, it's fine. Yeah, I like what you guys are doing, so it works out.
Well, go ahead, Kevin.
No, yeah, go for it.
We were just going to ask what your if you had any thoughts about the game, or what your approach was, or what are you thinking coming into it?
Yeah, like right off the bat, I had when I saw that that the list had been swapped up, and Charles had left his droid list and went to this, because I kind of wanted to see the droids, 2 droid lists go against each other. Yeah, once I saw he changed it up and saw this list with all those crack shots, yeah, I knew this one was going to be tough. So going in, my thinking was, yeah, if I play, on one side of the match, because I know I'm going to have to, no matter what, I'm not going to be able to with the droids be able to outfly. I'm going to have to take a couple losses on the approach, and if I stick to one side, hopefully I can close range fast enough to fire off the discords and try to focus on Drea first. And in my mind, I just kind of knew that Charles would place Drea all the way to one side, so of his you know of his squad. That way he could get maximum uh, range or maximum use of his ability. And
Mm-hmm.
he then swapped it and kind of had it on his right, my left, as opposed to all the way to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Just that alone, I was like, well, everything I kind of practiced and kind of had in my head kind of went out the door. And yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Like I said, there was
mhm.
me and Charles were talking about it, and we didn't think there was a lot of variance, or variance wouldn't have. I don't want to speak for you, Charles. You kind of thought maybe variance wasn't it, but I think running it, playing some fly casual, I was running, kind of a 50-50. And it seems like this really comes down to dice variance and eliminating or minimizing the amount of losses you take up front.
Yeah, that first turn for you, unfortunately, was pretty rough there, Steve.
Yeah.
I was curious. Mark and I were theorizing that when you kind of reoriented your formation into that long two column set, we were theorizing that you were trying to line up as many of your crack shots while denying at least two of Charles's. Was that your thinking, or were you trying to like gauge your approach with some blockers up front, or?
Yeah, that was my thinking, just to minimize his crack shots, really, which kind of worked. But then I made the mistake of forgetting about Seer's ability once or twice, and
Yeah.
which it is what it is. So
Sure.
that was the idea. Yeah, I was kind of open, I guess, with one side to hopefully catch him, and with him forgetting to turn his turret. We did a K turn with Drea, and yeah, it just kind of never happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, no, my turret was exactly where I wanted it to be, to the left. So, I mean, my really what I wanted to do, Steve, and you took that strategy away from me. What I wanted to do was get into engagement, Drea fire forward, crack shot, and then do a two hard right, and then be off in the rocks and play away from the formation.
Mhm.
But since you sent Seer down the middle, which I think was really smart, that took that whole strategy away from me.
Yeah.
But the other good thing about having the arc on the wrong side is once I K turn, it's on the right side.
Correct.
So I focus on, so either way, I either go straight and K turn with Drea or go straight and turn right. Either way, I cast the net and get the rerolls. And I don't even care if the other Z's are stressed or not because they get a reroll. The math's like about the same, and then plus crack shot and initiative.
No, I think that side of
That's it.
side of the turret is the right call there, Charles. It just lets you play a little bit away with Drea, but
Right.
unfortunately he did swing Seer around. But I still think I think it's a very interesting decision to swing Seer around, and I wonder if that was the right call or not. I just don't know.
Well, I guess my thinking was if I didn't swing Seer around with all, if I just keep Seer right there with the rest of the group, rolling into all those crack shots,
He
trying
just
to
dies
joust.
immediately.
Yeah, he's going to die immediately, and
Right.
I kind of had expect Brandon to do some, excuse me, Charles to do what Brandon did last week and just go for TA 175
Right.
off the bat.
He may well
I
have. You
would've.
just didn't let him.
I would have. Yeah, but you didn't let me do that. So I think that was a good strategy. But because you had stacked, I think that was the key. like the having Seer go through the middle was great, but because you stacked your formation, you basically rotated it 90 degrees. You went from a wide 4 cross formation to a stacked 4
Mhm.
levels. That meant there were going to be some dudes at range 3 or out of range or something during the shooting. And so
Sure.
when I was killing the ones up front, which can do the most damage to me,
Mhm.
that was, treating your list. So I think
Yeah.
if you do it again, I'd stay wide like you
Yeah.
were initially.
That
I guess
said, that was a thing of beauty, turning all of those into that column.
It was.
And that's going to serve you
I
very,
did
very
not
well,
see that coming.
for
That was
opponents
awesome.
who are sitting in the corner there.
I guess in my mind, I thought, oh, surely he's not going to fly one straight. And I even that's why I made the comment. I was like, oh, one straight to victory. I was like, surely he's not going to fly one straight. Surely he's going to do. If he had done at least 2, like
Right.
a 2 straight, I think to close the gap, I think there would have been more bumps. I think
Yeah.
more
Yes.
guys would have been in range. Yeah.
No, that strategy depended on Charles doing exactly nothing but 1 straights, and I
Right.
think I think he did that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess where a 5 straight would be with your front line, right? And I don't want to be there. So I want to be right in front of it if possible, but not right there. So, and I knew even though you stressed your dude with the barrel roll calculate, like
Mhm.
you could still do the 5. So I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to let you bump me was the thought
Yeah.
process. But once we get in close and I'm rolling 3 dice and I get a reroll and I have crack shot, then I really don't care about the bumps anymore.
Yep.
It's only that first engagement where I want to focus up to 2 hits and maybe crack shot. So
Well,
yeah, it's a tough list. Like once
it
again, I
is.
just I had hoped to like I said, I'd hoped to close the distance fast enough, and I had planned on, hey, I'm just going to lose 2 guys outright.
sure.
And then even doing that to launch the discords, it's like, all right, I know up front I'm sacrificing a couple of calculates that are probably going to be needed in order to just get some stuff on the board.
Yeah. No, and your formation for most of that game was just absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to go back and watch that to see how I do that
It was.
in the future, because that's a beautiful lesson right there. If anybody's looking to learn how to, take a wide range approach and then turn it into a column to deal with flanking opponents, you watch Steve at the beginning of this game. Was just picture perfect.
And Steve said he's been playing since February.
Wow.
And I know Steve was talking about variants earlier, dice, that sort of thing. But I just think it's a bad matchup for you, Steve. I think you played really
Agreed.
smartly. I think you play well beyond someone who's been playing this game for 2 months. So
No, that's a surprise to me. I can't fly. I've been playing this game for years, and that level of swarm flight is absolutely outside of my ability. So good job on that.
Agreed.
And
yeah, so don't feel bad about it, Steve. I think it's just a bad matchup for you. I think you played really well, sir.
I agree. I agree with you. Like that's tough, and there's definitely a way to overcome that. And that matchup, I'd be curious to think what it was. I don't even know if right off the bat, just doing a straight, make a 1 turn to the left to move into the rocks or move into the middle of the board or something like that. That would at least force you to have to chase me a little bit, get your formation, maybe mess up your formation, have
Sure.
Drea swing her turret. But once again, that's kind of playing against the typical droid swarm strengths.
All right. Well, we're out of time here. Thank you both for letting us stream and for your thoughts at the end of it. And
thank you guys.
Good luck with both of your next games on the last round here.
Excellent.
All right.
I look forward to talking to all you guys later.
You too. And thank you to everybody who's tuning in. And look forward to the next stream. And have a good night, everybody.